Assalamu alaikum and welcome to this video. In this video, I will discuss my system hardware specifications using the tool CPU-Z, which is a freeware that gathers information on some of the main devices of the system. The first tab is CPU. Processor. This is the name of the processor installed on my computer. This is typically the name that the CPU is marketed under. In my computer, it is Intel Core i5-3210M. Intel Core i5 is a high mid-range processor announced in Q2, that is Q2 of 2012. The code name. This is the name of the processor core architecture. In my computer, code name is Ivy Bridge. Ivy Bridge is a code name for the third generation of the Intel-Core processors that are i3, i5, and i7. The next thing is Max TDP. TDP stands for Thermal Design Power, and it is the number tells you the maximum heat a computer chip such as CPU or GPU can use in watts. It also is often used as a basic indicator of power consumption. More watts equals better performance, but also higher temperature and more power consumption. In my case, the TDP is 35 watts. Package. Package shows the name of the motherboard socket your computer is designed to fit in. Socket 988B RGPA is the package of my system. It is Intel CPU socket. The next thing you can see is technology. Technology shows the processing geometry used to create the processor. In this case, it is 22 nanometer. 22 nm technology implies that the smallest length, not width, of a transistor that you can make with that technology. For your information, 1 nanometer is 1 billionth of a meter. Next thing is core VID, that is voltage. It is the power supply voltage supplied to the CPU. This, along with max TDP, is often important to individuals who are overclocking their computers. In this case, the voltage is 0.941 volt. It fluctuates depending on the processors running. Specification. Specification shows the processor's information, and in many cases it is exactly same the name as the name field of above. Here the specification is again Intel Core i5-3210N, and it is telling the frequency. Family. Family and extended family. This section refers to the stepping information for the processor. This is used to determine the revision of the processor. Once a processor goes onto production, as time goes on, minor updates and bug fixes are made to the processor. Each update is a new revision or stepping. It can be used to see if processor revision is the one with or without a bug. Here we can see that there are 9 steppings and 6 extended family. Instructions. It refers to the instruction set that the processor is capable of running. This is the basic set of commands or instructions the processor is capable of understanding. In this case, the processor supports MMX, SSE family, EM640, VTX, AES, and AVX. The next information under the clock section, it shows the core information of one of the processor cores. All cores are identical. The first thing is core speed. The core speed is the frequency that the processor is running at. In my system, it shows 2893.10 MHz, and it is varying depending upon the running processes. Multiplier and bus speed. It determined by taking the speed of the CPU bus and then multiplying it by the multiplier. The next thing is cache. It shows the information on the cache of the processor. CPU cache is used to reduce the average time to access the memory. The cache is faster than main memory and is directly inside the CPU package. Cache stores copies of the most frequent used data from main memory. Each cache has its own 32 KB of level 1 cache, 256 KB of each level 2 cache, and as you can see, level 3 cache is 3 MB, which is shared. At the bottom, it shows that the processor has 2 cores and 4 threads, which mean that it supports hyperthreading. The cache tab tells the same information as we have discussed earlier, that it tells level 1 cache is of 32 KBs, and each processor, or we can say that each core, has level 1 cache of its own. Level 2 cache is of 256 KBs, and again it is the individual size of both cores. And level 3 cache is shared between the two cores. Mainboard tab provides info on the motherboard. The first thing it tells is the manufacturer name, that is the maker of the motherboard. In my system, Hewlett Packard is the manufacturer. Model of the motherboard listed here with Rivian number. It is useful in determining what drivers to download. In this case, the model is 1852, whereas the Rivian history says it's 65.34. The chipsets tell that it has Intel chipset with Ivy Bridge. The chipset controls communication between the processor and other devices on the motherboard. The BIOS section. BIOS stand for Basic Input-Output System. The BIOS initializes and controls the devices on the computer at the hardware level. Inside is the manufacturer of BIOS with version F.39, and the date of installed BIOS is 13th April 2014. Next, we will move on to the memory tab. Memory and SPD tab together provide the information on the system memory, that is RAM. If we see in memory tab under the general section, the type says it is the memory interface which is listed. It says it is DDR3, which stands for double data rate. Size is the total amount of memory in the system. That is the total memory of RAM, and it's 4 GB. Channel number. It refers to the number of channels available to the memory controller. A dual channel configuration has double the bandwidth of single channel memory, whereas triple channel has 3 times the data rate, and so on. Timings. DRAM frequency. It is the memory clock speed. In the system, it is 665.1 megahertz, and DRAM stands for Dynamic Access Memory. Now, the rest of the information is related to CAS latency. CAS latency is complicated to understand. Basically, it is the measurement of the time between the moment a memory controller tells the memory module to access a particular memory column to the moment the data is available at the RAM's output pins. As a general rule, or if we can say it's in simple words, the lower the CS latency, the better it is. It is 9 clocks in this system. Graphics. This tab contains information regarding the graphics or video card installed in the system. The name refers to the retail name of the graphic card. It is Intel HD Graphics 4000 installed in my system. Board manufacturer of this graphics is HP. In the clock tab, it tells the core of the graphic card, and it is 349 megahertz. And the Radeon of this GPU is 9. That's all from my side.